is a football podcast, man. Meat, football, good. Man, we talk football. We eat burgers.
Welcome back to the Fantasy Brothers podcast. It's Josh. It's Ben. It's week 3. It's still week 3.
Week 3 delivered.
Week 3 came through for fantasy football. My goodness.
Not in ways you would expect.
No. I think if you would have started just a lineup of Miami Dolphins, you would have scored 200 fantasy points.
You won.
You could have started the backup receivers, the backup running backs. You'd have won your league. I don't know. Fantasy football is a fun time. Sometimes it steals your soul. This week was one of those weeks when it's just happiness. Everybody scored.
I'm doing good. Actually,
it was great. I'm going to win in every matchup that I'm in.
I'm currently winning like a quarter, but a lot of it depends on tonight. I'm actually watching the Eagles Tampa game right now. We will give you updates live, which we will listen to tomorrow as we watch.
Yeah, if Swift scores, I expect a...
I'm going to flip out. I'm flipping the table. The podcast is over.
I expect something very excessive if Swift scores.
So I'll be paying attention to that. But I need... My week depends on the Bengals game. I need Burrow to be okay, and I need Jamar Chase to remind the NFL just who he is.
Yeah, we can't have Tank Dell being a better fantasy receiver than Jamar Chase right now.
It's unacceptable.
We just can't have it.
Granted, it's flat unacceptable.
Granted, the Houston offense has been awesome, but that's still it doesn't matter.
Come from?
I don't know, man. I really don't know because C.J. Stroud apparently is the truth. That's what I'm getting.
Apparently,
they just mollywopped the Jaguars. We've got news, we got weenies, we got studs on this episode. If you enjoy the podcast, leave us a rating and review wherever you're listening. Subscribe on YouTube. Trying to get all the episodes up on YouTube. Hadn't been doing so great about that recently. As much as we can. There we go.
Dang it, Josh.
I'm working on it. All right. We got a couple news things to hop into really quickly. Probably the biggest piece of news from this week so far, assuming something crazy doesn't happen on Monday night, Mike Williams is assumed to have torn his ACL.
It is. They confirmed it today.
Okay. Did he have the MRI already?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. I think
had a great game.
He did, man. He had like 130 yards. He caught a touchdown from Keenan Allen.
He had your typical Mike Williams game of doing nothing, and then boom, 40 points.
Yeah. And then Keenan Allen had his typical Keenan Allen game, except dialed up to like 12 or something.
He had his typical Keenan Allen game times 2.
It was crazy. I mean, it was times 2 because it was 20 targets and 200 yards. He's usually locked in for a good 10 targets, 100 yards every week.
This week was special, I will say that. We just kind of savor this week because you are not going to see many like it.
Yeah.
And it's not that every star was good or anything, but just some of the things that happened just don't happen.
Right. Yeah. So with Mike Williams being out, obviously the next man up, at least in fantasy circles, we would assume it's Quentin Johnston. It hasn't been Quentin Johnston thus far this season. It's been Josh Palmer. Josh Palmer actually had 4 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown on Sunday. So he's been playing pretty well. Quentin Johnston hadn't been getting on the field the way you would like. I'm curious how you feel about Johnston or even Palmer, honestly, now that Williams is out.
I mean, obviously the quick and short answer is you have to like both more. I'm not going to dive or jump all in on Johnston yet. I think for the Chargers' success to continue, he's going to have to be what they drafted him to be, but I don't expect it to happen right away. I mean, obviously I expect an uptick in targets right now. I expect an uptick in targets for Palmer right now, all those kind of things. I don't think it'll happen right away, but if the Chargers want to keep rolling the way they have, they needed him to be Mike Williams, which is what they drafted him to be. Mike Williams was probably most people's pro comp to him anyway. So let's see what happens. He's going to be better because he's going to get more targets, plain and simple. So we'll see.
You know what this really means? It means that Austin Eckler is going to get 800 targets out of the backfield.
Don't remind me.
When players get injured, it's Eckler time. It's not anybody else because he doesn't share. He takes it all.
I was really upset because it's happening again for Herbert, and I hate it.
Yeah, Eckler's been out for 2 weeks now. You can probably expect one more week, maybe. Josh Kelly hasn't done super great. And now it's literally Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston and Josh Palmer. That's it.
Yeah.
So, and he's been good. He's been good with that, but I obviously would like more. I think it probably just means, too, they're probably going to take another receiver in the first round next year.
Yeah. And go get somebody who's not literally what you already had. Like Quentin Johnston is the same thing as Mike Williams. Go get... They tank. They go get Marvin Harrison.
They will not tank, but
not
they're
possible.
on a. They're 1-2. They're on their way. You know, they're almost there. What really is going to happen is the Minnesota Vikings are going to go 0-17 and get Marvin Harrison.
No, if they go 0-17, they're getting Caleb Williams, is what they're going to get.
Yeah, that's true.
And give him to Justin Jefferson.
What's
going to happen is the Bengals are going to lose tonight, shut down Joe Burrow for the season. They're going to let T. Higgins walk, and they're going to draft Marvin Harrison.
And
then they're going to roll out. They're going to roll out a healthy Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase on one side, Marvin Harrison on the other. Good luck.
That'd be terrifying. What's really going to happen though is the Bears are going to be terrible this year. Fire everybody and draft Caleb Williams.
That could happen. That probably should happen.
Justin Fields has been so bad. I don't know if he's on your weenies list or not, but he's been terrible.
I think he is on the weenies.
Yep, top of the weenies.
We'll get into him later.
Yeah. Here's a little trifecta of quarterback injuries for you. Jimmy Garoppolo has a concussion, which likely means he's going to miss next week, just the way the concussion protocol works. Derek Carr injured his shoulder. Don't really know what it is yet. I've seen some people suggesting it's an AC joint sprain, which is like a couple weeks. Jameis Winston is the backup. And honestly, I don't feel like it's a huge drop-off from Derek Carr to Jameis Winston. I feel like Jameis is just fine. So I'm not really downgrading any of the weapons for the Saints. In fact, I may upgrade Chris Olave.
I'm downgrading the team as a whole because for a pure winning factor, Derek Carr will win more games than Jameis Winston.
That's true.
From a fantasy perspective, he made Mike Evans and Chris Godwin amazing because he would throw 3 pick-sixes a game and 4 touchdowns.
If anything we know about Jameis Winston, it's that he will throw the ball downfield.
If old school Jameis comes back, then you upgrade everyone.
Yeah, unless he just starts dunking the ball in the flats to Kamara, they'll be...
He didn't do that last year.
You're right, he didn't. He didn't throw the ball to running backs hardly at all last year. It was still...
That's because he's throwing it down the field. Someone down there is going to catch it. Be it a Saint, be it a defender. Someone's catching this football.
He is the Saints version of F it Jamar down there somewhere.
I like it.
I don't mind it at all.
Because I don't care about the Saints, so I like it for fantasy.
The other thing here is Patrick Mahomes sprained his ankle. And it was like at the very end of that game. I don't even remember that. It was the very end of the game. I mean, they were up like 41-0, and the guard rolled up on him, and he tweaked his ankle. It looked from the video like a low ankle sprain, so that is at least positive. And he's a quarterback, so, I mean, he can play through an ankle sprain and be okay. I'm not sure if he'll miss any time. I don't know what the injury folks have said online about it yet, but it looked like if he had to play, he could. I don't know if they'll sit him out because it's regular season games and they're just different. I don't know.
I mean, I hadn't even heard about this. I saw him in the interviews after the game. He looked like he was walking fine to me, so I obviously, since I just heard about this, I haven't looked into it, but my gut tells me this is nothing to worry about.
He's probably fine. I think it's, if nothing else, you just monitor the practice reports, and then if he logs a couple limiteds or something throughout this week, you're fine.
Yeah. I'm not worried about Patrick Mahomes.
All right. The weekly weenies, the moment Ben has all been waiting for.
Yes.
Hit us with them.
All right, let's tear apart some millionaires. Justin Fields. Justin Fields is a bad quarterback. I think this is
safe to say.
It's multiple parts kind of thing. I don't think Justin Fields is very good. He scored 11 points, 11 for 22, 99 yards, only rushed for 47 yards. I draft you to rush for 100 yards, Justin.
Yikes.
So be better than that. His coaching staff is horrible. I'm not going to argue there. But you also don't go out there and throw your coaching staff under the bus in your post-game interviews. That's not good, Justin. That is not good at all. That does not bode well for his future in Chicago or anywhere. And it may be the coaches. Like I said, I think they're horrible. They're not helping Justin Fields, but Justin Fields is also not helping himself. So
yeah,
I think it's.
I don't know. I don't know if you've watched any of like the film breakdowns of his first 3 weeks now.
I haven't watched a ton.
I haven't watched like extensively, but I've watched enough to know the common theme with Fields right now is that he's holding the ball way too long. He's super indecisive, just making terrible decisions overall. Like stuff that is there, he's not taking advantage of it. And granted, the scheme is not great. The coaches aren't doing him a bunch of favors either. So like you're right, everybody is kind of at fault here, but the stuff that's there, Justin is not taking advantage of it. He's basically making everything worse. It's not like he's doing the best he can with, a terrible deck of cards, if you will. Yeah, he's making it worse.
It's a bad situation that he is not improving.
Yeah.
All right, number 2, Daniel Jones.
Oof.
Daniel Jones is more of a good player in just a bad situation. He's got no weapons. He was going up against the best defense in the NFL. I put him on this list as weenies, but I more just feel bad for Daniel Jones.
It was a predictable weenie week.
Please get my man some help.
Yeah.
All right, I'll leave Daniel Jones alone for the most part. Jahmyr Gibbs. Good and bad things to take about this. David Montgomery's out, so I freaking wanted him to be amazing against the Falcons. Turns out the Falcons actually have a pretty good defense. The workload was there. He wasn't honestly terrible with the workload. 17 carries, 82 yards. Just didn't score, didn't pop off any big plays. Only had 2 targets, surprisingly. But honestly, the games that you really want Gibbs in are going to be the shootouts, and that just wasn't a shootout. The Falcons were just completely anemic on offense, so I think the Lions were pretty much just content to run out the clock and just let that be it. But still, I expect better from Jahmyr Gibbs. He's explosive. I want to see explosive. I'm tired of it. I'm ready. I paid a ton to get him.
This is not Jahmyr Gibbs was terrible. I think he scored 9 PPR points, which isn't amazing, but it's not awful. It doesn't kill you.
I want 30.
Most of this is Ben is so heavily invested and expecting so much and not getting it, which I understand.
He didn't go out there and was awful for your fantasy team, but he didn't win me weeks. I want you to win me weeks.
Yeah.
Same thing with Bijan Robinson. Dude had like 8 points in half PPR.
Wasn't great.
I think it's because I should put honorary Arthur Smith here, because your offense is horrible. You're an offensive coach who likes to run the ball. God,
he's a defensive coach, let's be honest.
Bijan, it's not your fault, but you're on the weenies because of your coach. Next, Breece Hall. I don't know what more to say than it's the Jets.
It's not Breece Hall's fault.
It's going to be hard to be good on the Jets. Sorry, Breece. They put you here, not me. Derrick Henry. What happened? I know he was banged up, but like he's getting out-snapped by... What's their backup?
Tyjae Spears.
And he's getting out-snapped, not by a little. He's getting out-snapped by a lot.
Yeah, Derrick Henry didn't have a single third down snap, and they got crushed by Cleveland. So he was basically game scripted out, and it's no longer the situation where Derrick Henry is the end-all, be-all in the backfield for them. It's a committee, and Tyjae Spears is the third down back, and so they were getting smoked, and Tyjae was on the field.
But at one point during the game, and this was early on in the game, Tyjae Spears had 20 snaps to Derrick Henry's 7.
Yikes.
The game was still close at that point.
Yikes.
I don't know if maybe it's the injury lingering and they're being careful with him, or is he finally out of juice? I don't know.
I don't know, dude. It's a very curious situation. It's one of those things I want to monitor. I will say, though, we tried to warn people. It's not quite going to be the Derrick Henry of old, and turns out it's not quite the Derrick Henry of old.
All right. Well, moving on. Alabama running back number 2, Najee Harris.
Yikes.
I mean, he was still got the ball a lot. Typical Najee Harris workload. He had 19 carries, 0 catches, 0 targets.
Yikes, man.
Just 19 carries and 65 yards.
That's not good, is it?
It's not good. Start to panic on Najee Harris. That's all I can say. Start to panic.
You want to know something funny with Najee?
Yeah.
He's averaging his highest. He's averaging his highest yards per carry for his career this year. He's averaging 3.97 yards a carry.
That's not good.
That is the highest of his career.
That is not good.
With no pass catching work, Najee Harris is he's not startable.
Okay, well, let's move on to another running back that we really like, and it's just not coming together. Javonte Williams, he's getting most of the work, and I don't know, you can partially account this up to they just got railroaded by the Miami Dolphins.
They got murdered. We will talk about this matchup quite a bit on this episode.
Historic loss against the Miami Dolphins. Still, Javonte Williams he's been on this. I don't think he's been on the weenies yet, but he probably should have been because he's done the same game. I don't know if you paid attention to this, Josh. Same thing every single week. Week 1, 13 carries, 52 yards, 4 catches. Week 2, 14 carries, 44 yards, 2 catches. Week 3, 11 carries, 42 yards, 2 catches. He's doing the same thing every week. He's getting between 14 and 11 carries for about 45 yards, and he's getting 2 catches.
Yep.
He's done that 3 weeks in a row now. Same thing.
We just need him to score. If he would score, he could have a pretty decent fantasy week. And if the offense could, it's like the offense hasn't been terrible, but I just need more work for Javonte. I need it to ramp up, and it will over the course of the season. And I just need him to score. That'd be great.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry, Javonte. It's just not panning out for you. He was a mainstay last year. I thought we were going to change the trajectory week 1 when he had a great week, but this is 2 weeks in a row. Welcome back, Calvin Ridley. There was an injury scare. I mean, I get that. I held my breath. I know. But still, you only had 3 catches for 40 yards against Houston. Not only did you have that against Houston, you got blown out by Houston. Blown out.
Yep.
Badly. Calvin Ridley is back. Speaking of his former teammate, they're going to think we're just recycling our same material from last year, and we are. It's because they're doing the same thing as last year. Kyle Pitts, welcome back. I'm sorry, it's not your fault. He actually had his biggest target share of the year, and possibly ever. He had 9 targets.
That's incredible.
Only caught 5 of them, because those are probably the only catchable 5 of them. And I didn't pan out. I don't even remember what his target or yardage was. I think he had like 40 yards or something.
Yeah.
Kyle, I'm sorry. I don't want to put you here. Your coach put you here.
It was so unfortunate to see that one deep target to start the game where he beat the safety.
Walked in for a 90-yard touchdown. But okay, I'm gonna make an audible here. Desmond Ridder, yes. I didn't put him on here. I don't know why I didn't.
He's terrible.
Maybe it was just because he wasn't a star that underperformed. He's not a star. He's not even a starter, or at least he shouldn't be. He is awful. Awful.
How do you feel about your Falcons right now, Ben?
Good that they lost because I want them to keep losing. I want them to lose every single game the rest of the year and then fire Arthur Smith. And I want to lose every single game.
They looked so bad, dude.
I don't even want them to be close. I want to lose like 42-0 every game. It is nothing against Bijan, Drake London, or Kyle Pitts. I love all 3 of those players very, very much. I just hate the man they play for.
And the fact that Desmond Ridder is a subpar starting quarterback. He's not good.
He's not a starting quarterback. He is not starting caliber. There are backups in this league that are leaps and bounds better than he is.
Gardner Minshew.
Taylor Heineke, who's on our team. I think he is better than Desmond Ridder. I honestly would like us to keep starting Desmond Ridder so that we keep losing and, go get him beat up by somebody.
Yeah, that would work.
I'm fine with that.
That would work.
Darren Waller, product of the situation. I'm sorry, you don't deserve this, but you're on the weenies because you had 3 catches for like 12 yards against the 49ers. It's not good.
Brutal.
And surprising one on the list, Mark Andrews. A surprising loss from the Ravens. I don't really know what happened there.
I don't know either, dude. It was such a weird. Very
strange.
They couldn't score. I mean, what was that? I feel like I don't know what it was. I felt like they couldn't throw the ball at all. It was just short stuff, and they had. I did not see a single deep pass, and I watched most of the entire game. I didn't see a single bomb. I don't know.
It was ugly.
It was very weird. Very weird game.
I think that's it. I'll stop yelling.
All right. Studs. Something to be excited about because there was a lot of it.
Unless you played against them this week, and then I'm sorry to be bringing back flashbacks.
If you played against Miami Dolphins this week, I'm so sorry because there's nothing you could have done.
You lost.
You did. There's absolutely nothing you could have done. All right.
You know how many times in 100 years of the NFL that's happened? This is the third.
3.
This is the third.
And they could have kicked a field goal at the end to set the record for points in a game.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel was nice.
He pulled off the gas at the end, kneeling when they could have set the NFL points record.
Yeah.
But I digress. Devon Achane. We need to have a talk about Devon Achane. 51.3 PPR points. He had 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, and I think another 40 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. Wow. Well, I mean, I think what's so wild about this is just like the way it happened, because we were watching the games together, and it was great. We were sitting at the sports bar hanging out, and we look over, and about every 5 minutes we see, oh, the Dolphins scored again. And like in the first half, it was just Raheem Mostert highlights over and over. I think he had like 2 touchdowns at half, 25 points or something. And then I go look, I'm just scrolling through my fantasy teams, and I've got Devon Achane on my bench. And I go, oh, wow. Achane's got like 15 points in the first half. Wow. He scored a touchdown. And then the second half, he breaks off a bunch of long runs, ends up with 200 yards on the day, but it wasn't like it was one run that got him there. Like, dude had, I mean, at one point it was like 6 for 70, 9 for 90, 11 for 120, and then he ends up with 18 for 200, whatever it was. Whoa. Just a outlier of outlier games.
Historic game.
Yes. That being said, with Raheem Mostert, I think Mostert went 13 for 80 and had 3 touchdowns and maybe another receiving touchdown. I think between the two of them, there were 8 touchdowns.
7 catches for 60 yards and another touchdown.
That will do it. They both dominated in the receiving game. They both dominated on the ground. It was crazy. Absolutely crazy. That being said, though, we've got to figure out what we're doing with this backfield, because that was, even though Achane was the backup, that was the kind of performance that at the very least earned him a bigger role. And I'm just curious what we do with that.
I really am not sure. I mean, Jalen Waddle didn't play, so that's got to factor in some. So there was a lot of open potential. He did most of his work in the second half when the game was just completely out of hand. So I think you did factor that in too. And I'm not saying that he hasn't earned more targets or touches. He absolutely has, because you don't just do that on a fluke. He's very good. I'm also trying not to overreact just because it was, in fact, a historic game. Like, that never happens.
Yes.
And it probably will never happen again. But that being said, this is one of the greatest offenses I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. There's also the Jeff Wilson comes back in week 5.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
I don't know what to do with this backfield because, I mean, if you've had Raheem Mostert, the first 3 weeks have been fantasy gold for you. He's a top 5 running back. And then just for a dude to come in off the bench and have 200, I mean, that's just crazy. That's nuts. And then Wilson, honest to goodness, might be the best runner of the 3. It adds a wrench. So I don't know. I'm not really sure what to do with this other than I would for sure grab him off of waivers. And I know a lot of people will.
I think Mostert, you still is the guy you start confidently. I think because they took him out of the game, later than Achane, so he's the starter still, I think. So I'm still good putting him in. Tua is a top 5 quarterback. I mean, what else can you say there? Tyreek Hill is the wide receiver 1.
He's scoring so much.
I don't know. I don't know for fantasy. I think I prefer Hill for fantasy. For real life, I don't know if it's him or Jefferson. They are both just on another level right this moment.
And we say that, and Justin Jefferson has put in between 140 and 155 yards each of his 3 games.
He has 450 yards receiving in 3 weeks.
That's nuts.
That is insane numbers.
He's about to have 1,000 yards in 7 games.
So, yeah, I think you still start the same Miami players you have. You obviously pick up Devon Achane. If you haven't, everyone else, I'm not really thinking too much about. Like Robbie Anderson, all them got garbage time touchdowns from Mike White, of all people.
Yep.
That's how bad this game was, is that Mike White's throwing 70-yard touchdowns.
Mike White had 2 pass attempts for 70 yards and a touchdown.
All that crap that Sean Payton actively called out Nathaniel Hackett many times in the offseason, and for good reason. Nathaniel Hackett is not a good coach. I'm not going to sit here and defend him at all. He's bad. But he didn't do that. You just got railroaded.
This is different, though.
Worse than this guy ever got.
This is different because the offense is significantly better this year. The problem is the defense is significantly worse.
They gave up.
I don't know what it was because there were stretches last year when it was like, this is the best defense in the NFL. If their offense was just competent, they'd be a playoff team. And it's somehow completely flipped where the offense is, I mean, so far they've been honestly above average. They've been pretty decent. The defense has been so bad, like league worst bad. I mean, you can't allow 30-plus points to the Commanders, who got absolutely boat raced by the Bills a week later, and then allow 70. I know the Dolphins are great, but 70. I mean, come on. That was wild.
This is different. I honestly think that they've lost the team. Like Sean Payton's lost them. Russell Wilson has lost them. They traded stuff to get Sean Payton, like picks to get him. I honestly don't know where you go from here other than you clean house and start over.
They probably won't.
Perspective.
They're not going to do that. They're probably going to figure it out to some extent. I don't know. I think Sunday was the sort of game you just literally ball it up and throw it away.
I'm so unbelievably excited for the Bills-Dolphins next week. That's
going to be incredible.
Oh, my gosh. That is going to be an exciting game.
I'm so curious to see if the Bills' defense can slow them down at all because the Bills' defense has been
They won't give up
great.
70. They will not give up 70.
They will not. But will they give up 30? I don't know.
I think no matter what, you're going to have to score 30 points to beat Miami. I don't care who it is. Miami will put up 30 points. You will have to match them.
What if Tua goes out and wins the MVP this year?
Right now, he is the MVP.
I don't know if the NFL media, we're going to consider ourselves NFL media for a second. I don't know if we would handle Tua Tagovailoa being the MVP.
I mean, think about it for a second. The question has always been, or at least not always been, but the past year, since last year is, can Tua stay healthy? Because if he stays healthy, then they'll be great. So,
yeah,
I don't think we should be surprised that he's great. I think we'll be surprised if he makes it through the year.
Fair.
So I don't know. Maybe that's my take on it.
All right, let's talk about some of these other stuff.
I didn't think we'd be this good. So yeah, let's move on. Did we? You can find a ton of other places and other people who have talked to a great extent about this game. It was unbelievable. Yep. Let's keep going.
All right, Keenan Allen.
Oh my God.
20 targets, 18 receptions.
He tied Antonio Brown's record.
Gosh, 46.5 PPR points. We had 4 players above 40 PPR points this week. 4. I'm pretty sure all of 2022 in PPR, all of 2022, I think we had like 5 or 6 40-point scorers.
That's insane.
Including quarterbacks.
That's insane.
Not a single quarterback has scored 40 points yet, but we've got a billion players doing it. Crazy. He was electric. Some of this was the Vikings defense is terrible, and the Chargers had to have it, had to throw, and Justin Herbert he's incredible. He's fantastic. We'll talk about him too. I mean, we should probably just talk about him now because we're talking about the Chargers.
Yeah, let's do all of them.
Yeah, Justin Herbert has 32 fantasy points. I pulled that from a league that does 5 points per touchdown, so it'll be a little bit different based on scoring settings. But still, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, 40 of 47. And he didn't even throw one that Keenan Allen got because Keenan Allen also threw a touchdown to Mike Williams. It's wild. If only we could have predicted it. Oh, wait, we did.
Gosh. Like I've been saying the past few weeks, if it's a Vikings game, fire up everyone. Fire up everyone on the Vikings. Fire up everyone against the Vikings.
Yeah.
It's going to be a shootout.
It's getting to the point where the Bears are the number 1 matchup for running backs, and the Vikings are the number 1 matchup for receivers. It's just, if you got somebody against the Vikings secondary, fire them up. If you got a running back against Chicago, fire them up. And you know who plays Chicago next week?
The Broncos.
The Broncos. Maybe Javonte will finally put it together. Maybe he'll finally put it together. Maybe they'll get a win. They can get the win column playing the Bears.
With Mike Williams' injury, too, like you've got to really bump up Keenan Allen. Is he top 5 from here on? Pretty much.
They're about. Especially without Eckler there, and maybe because Williams is gone, Eckler coming back doesn't inhibit him as much. But like Eckler historically has eaten into Keenan Allen's workload just because they have historically kind of worked in the same areas of the field. But this year, Kellen Moore is using Keenan Allen further downfield than Keenan Allen's been used in previous years. He's not just a slant guy right now this year. He's doing a lot more than that. He's looked really, really good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Keenan Allen's for sure a top 8 receiver at this point, I feel like.
Yeah.
All right. Devontae Adams on Sunday Night Football came through. Did he have 20 targets as well?
I'm going up against him in our main dynasty league.
Oh, yeah, of course.
If Devontae Adams is playing me, I'll go ahead and just let you guys know every week, when we're doing our preview, so you can know what to expect. Because if he's going up against me, he's going to absolutely dominate. He's been my kryptonite for 5 years.
He's the wide receiver 2 on the week. He can't even get a wide receiver 1 out of it, but he has 13 catches, 172, and 2 touchdowns.
I'm so sorry for you. I am sorry for you if you started Devontae Adams, but we're facing the Miami Dolphins guy.
Oh.
Because you lost that matchup. I'm sorry.
There's got to be a team somewhere that started Keenan Allen and Devontae Adams and still lost.
You know how good that dude had to feel going into that week? And
they
then
were like,
this Joker had Tua, Mostert, and Tyreek.
Probably scored 175 or 180 and
what the
lost.
Heck?
It was brutal. Yeah, no, Devontae Adams looked great. I would probably temper expectations next week, though, if Jimmy Garoppolo's out.
Yeah.
But dude's great. He's gonna have weeks like this. There's gonna probably be 3 or 4 of them, where he just goes nuclear, and there's really not a whole lot you can do about it. He's obviously the focal point of that passing offense. It's Devontae Adams, and even though they've got some other targets, it is Devontae Adams, Devontae Adams, Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
I think at one point he had 7 of Garoppolo's first 10 passes.
I believe it. He had like 19 points in the first quarter.
It was crazy. Adam Thielen. Didn't think you'd be talking about him, did you?
No.
31 and a half PPR points because Andy Dalton threw the ball like 50 times.
Andrew.
That was something. That was I don't know what to tell you. There's nothing you can take away from this.
You don't
other
see
than you will not see this again all year. Adam Thielen has 100 plus yards, touchdown. You know, it's not going to happen again. So I guess trade high on him if you can. That's about all I can tell you to do with this one.
Yeah, that's about where I would be.
Kenneth Walker. I'm not going to say I told you so, but I literally told you so.
He's the guy in that backfield.
He was my start of the week. I'm patting myself on the back for that one. He's the guy. He's for sure the guy. Zach Charbonnet only had 9 carries.
And Charbonnet looked good, though. Like, he was very explosive when he touched the ball yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, both looked really good. And I think you have to be encouraged if you do have Charbonnet because in the event that Kenneth Walker goes down with an injury, Charbonnet's a great play. I think both are very, very good. Nothing has soured me on either one of them. But because of the way they're using Kenneth Walker, he's a stud. I mean, he's getting all the work, all the valuable work, all the work. He even had some pass catching to mix in there as well. There was one play when I think he took like a little out route and took it 15 yards or something. It was filthy. He's so good.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I didn't trade him in a lot of the leagues that I have traded him.
I still can't get anything for him.
I still have a 25 first-round pick that's got your name on it.
I want more than that.
Okay. Sam Laporta. What do we do with him? Where do we rank him?
I think we talked about this, when we were at the restaurant. He's got to be top 5 for me. I mean, it's Kelsey, Andrews, Hawkinson are kind of the clear elite 3. I still think there's a drop off, and then it's maybe Kittle, and then him. Like right now, I prefer him to Darren Waller. I prefer him to Kyle Pitts. I prefer him to Dallas Goedert.
Yep.
He's a top 5 tight end for me until further notice.
What about him versus Evan Ingram?
I'd take Laporta.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Laporta hasn't killed you yet. He's getting a solid target share every single week. And in a game when they blasted the Falcons from the get-go, he had 11 targets. Josh Reynolds did nothing in this game. He goose-egged. So it was Amon-Ra had 11 targets. Sam Laporta had 11 targets. That was the passing game, essentially. It was just the two of them. So I don't know. I think at the very least you can take away from this, he's going to be really, really good. And you just keep firing up. I would consider him a top 5 tight end right now. I think he is basically him and Darren Waller going forward are the same to me.
Yeah. I think just given the offense, and I can see an argument for wanting Waller over him or at least equal to him. But just based on the offense, I think he's safer right now.
Yeah. And even when Jameson Williams comes back, it's not like Jameson Williams is going to eat into what he does. Jameson is a downfield threat. And Josh Reynolds, who I would think would probably eat into it more because he's going to work the middle of the field, he hasn't stopped Laporta. And I can't really see a scenario where Jameson coming back would sort of slow that down.
Yeah.
I think if they're on schedule, Laporta's part of it.
Can I pause for one moment just to admire the Bengals all-white uniforms? They are
they are
clean.
nice.
Those are the best.
Nice.
Those are some of my favorite uniforms in the NFL.
Is it the black
going now?
The black visors?
Yeah. Just
those
all
nice.
I like all white or like all one solid color or anything, but just those with the black outlines and the visors, it is clean.
That's nice. That's nice. All right. The last stud here that I figured I would put in here because over the weekend when you were hanging out with me, it was a whole meme how I don't like Zach Moss.
He heard you.
I guess I can't dislike Zach Moss anymore. He had 30 carries for 120 yards and 22.5 PPR points.
As long as he's the starting running back in that lineup and on that team, he's going to have value. He's going to be good.
You're right. I hate to say it, but yeah, he is startable until Jonathan Taylor comes back. Which could be as soon as week 5.
If Jonathan Taylor returns.
Yeah. I think if nothing else, though, it sort of just gets me more excited for Jonathan Taylor coming back. Because if Zach Moss can be this good, Jonathan Taylor should be amazing. I hope he's watching right now and being like, oh, I could do that.
Puka Nacua is catching passes again.
Thank God.
Another side note. Live updates that you will listen to tomorrow.
A thing we love to see. All right. Anything else on this one?
What a week.
Any takeaways for the people?
Don't overreact to Miami.
But blow all your fab on Devon Achane.
Yep. I would do that. Maybe not all of it, but a very sizable amount.
I will be doing that in the leagues that I don't already have him. Funny enough, I think in all the redraft leagues I already had him. So I don't have to do the fab dump. Yep. But it's exciting. It's exciting times. All right, that'll do it from us. We will see you later this week. I think we're doing our week 4 preview and all that fun jazz. We'll see you. Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Brothers podcast. If you enjoyed the episode and want to connect to us, follow us on Instagram at FantasyBrothers_ or on Twitter at FantasyBros_. If you want to support the show, you can do that at Patreon /Fantasy Brothers.